The following program is sponsored by the Building Wisconsin Television Network.
Welcome to another project here on Building Wisconsin. I'm Stuart Keith, and on today's show, we're going to learn how you can incorporate a rain garden into your landscape design to help solve a major urban water problem. So let's get started with Karen Sands from the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District. Well, Karen, what a beautiful day and an equally beautiful flower bed right here.
It sure is, and besides being just a beautiful flower bed, it's also green infrastructure.
Green infrastructure, that's a term I haven't heard.
Well, you know, when you think of infrastructure, you think of roads and electricity and sidewalks, but we should also think about just the world around us, the green that can manage stormwater where it falls.
And really, that is a big problem, not only here in the Milwaukee area, but throughout our nation. All that runoff going into our sanitary sewers, into our lakes, rivers, ponds, and really leading to pollutants.
Sure, whether you live in Milwaukee or elsewhere in Wisconsin or really anywhere in the country, you can implement green infrastructure and manage stormwater where it falls.
Okay, I know that you guys have a new Fresh Coast initiative. What is that all about?
Fresh Coast 740 is one of MMSD's new initiatives to help manage stormwater and to promote the idea that everybody can manage stormwater where it falls. So 740 refers to 740 million gallons.
Wow.
I know, that's huge. 740 million gallons of stormwater capacity that we want to add across the region.
And so when you say add across the region, you're talking about homeowners here, businesses, anybody out there who lives in the community can do their part to help lessen the runoff that's leading down to the sewer system and into our lakes, rivers, ponds?
That's right. This homeowner has already begun the process, but we hope other homeowners will catch on as well. And not only just homeowners, but businesses, churches, schools, really everywhere where there's impervious cover, we want to help them help manage stormwater.
Now, when we're talking, you know, an excess amount of runoff water, I mean, in a typical rainstorm, or let's just say an inch of rain falls in a storm, how much water are we talking there?
We're talking about a tremendous amount of water when we get an inch. That is the equivalent of 7 billion gallons of stormwater.
7 billion with a B.
With a B.
In the Milwaukee area.
Yeah, hard to believe.
Wow. And so the nice thing about heightening the awareness with this Fresh Coast 740 program is that each of us can do our part here to keep that water that's falling on our property in the location, and that's going to benefit us all. Not only lessen the dependency on MMSD, but also help our aquifers, and the plants will help the atmosphere, and just really everybody will be healthier at the end of the day.
Absolutely. There's so many benefits, including reducing the risk of basement backups and overflows. But look how beautiful this looks as well. Isn't this something that we should all have in our front or backyards?
This is absolutely gorgeous here, and we're talking about managing water on the outside of our homes, but as I understand it, there's a big problem on the inside, and that's with drain tiles leading into the sewer system?
That's right. Those older homes tend to have foundation drains that drain right into the sanitary sewer system that eventually end up at the wastewater treatment plants. I mean, we really don't need to treat that at the water reclamation facilities. And so we can disconnect that and make it into a resource by pumping it to a rain garden that can be fed with the clear water.
Well, I'm excited to learn more about the rain gardens on today's show, but first I'm going to catch up with Tom from Mid-City Plumbing to learn more about the process of disconnecting a drain tile. So I'll see you a little later.
Sounds great.
Tom, this is a beautiful, nice home, pre-1954, so as I learned earlier, from Karen, it's important to disconnect the drain tile from the main sewer line.
Correct.
So that's why we wanted to catch up with you to learn more about the process that's involved for a company like yours coming in and disconnecting the drain tile.
It's basically a three-step process. The process involves first a pre-inspection of the home. We schedule with the homeowner maybe a few days to a few weeks ahead of time, and experienced plumber, somebody with many years of experience working in homes, understanding foundation drainage, comes in, evaluates the home, figures out where the drain tile system is going right now. Is it working? Is it not working? Are there wet spots on the wall? Where the best place for the new sump pump is going to be? And is there ample power available to run that new sump pump?
So it seems to me that initial inspection is pretty important.
Correct. And definitely helps save time during the day of installation.
Okay, so once the day of installation arrives, what's involved in that process?
There's two main steps the day of installation. The first process is to disconnect the existing foundation drain, and that's what Andy's working on right here. The existing foundation drain's tied into the existing floor drain. Floor drain is tied into the sanitary sewer. The primary purpose of this project is to disconnect those drain tile from there. But once we disconnect them, we have to have a way of getting rid of that water. So over in the other room right now, we're installing a new sump pump. This drain tile will be redirected to that sump pump and then pumped outside.
And now that you're working within an existing home, I bet it's quite challenging from your standpoint.
Oh, most definitely. One thing you have to be very cognizant of is the people themselves and their belongings. Make sure everything is out of the way. We give them ample notice to move certain things, fragile items. We put drop cloths down, temporary wall panels up if necessary when we're breaking the floor, keep the dust down. And scheduling is also another thing too, trying to be cognizant of the person's schedule.
Okay, now when you get right in here where Andy's working, what is exactly involved in disconnecting a drain tile?
It probably sounds much more sophisticated than what it actually is. The drain tile tied into the side of the floor drain by a T fitting. Inside of that T is what's called the Palmer valve. The Palmer valve is a flap that prevented sewage from going back into the drain tile, but allowed clean water to go into the sanitary system. As part of disconnecting this, we either remove or leave that Palmer flap actually in there, but we disconnect with a watertight seal and cap that T.
And so by doing this, are you lessening the likelihood of a basement backup? Because if I'm a homeowner who has never had a basement backup, I might be a little apprehensive about somebody coming in and tearing up my, my system.
You're lessening the potential of it because, one, we're not trying to add more water down a sewer system that wasn't designed to take that flow of sewer.
Okay, so at the end of the day, even if you haven't had a basement backup, this is a great program to take advantage of.
Correct.
And really help the community as a whole.
Yes.
So you have all this clear water, as you put it, really rainwater that's falling on the property, coming into the basement drain tile. Instead of going down to MMSD in this case and having to be processed, these homeowners now can take advantage of that and pump it outside and build a rain garden.
Exactly. There's a great use for that water.
Well, final question for you, Thomas. How long does this process take?
Well, the process usually takes about 5 to 7 hours. We arrive at the house between about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. By a little before noon, we're getting our municipal inspections. We're getting a local plumbing inspection, local electrical inspection, and then we're patching the floor in the afternoon, cleaning up, and we're out of here.
Well, that's amazing. Here, I was thinking it was going to be 2, 3, 4 days. So there's very little inconvenience for the homeowner.
Correct.
Less than a day. An experienced professional plumber is going to get the job done right the first time. A homeowner's not going to have to worry that it was done incorrectly. And to finish it up, is the homeowner going to notice anything different on their floors?
No. Realistically, in this situation here, this floor is going to get patched back exactly same elevation, concrete patch. The only thing they're going to notice that's different in their basement is now they have a sump pump. And that's over in the other room. And
that sump pump's going to take all that free water Mother Nature's providing, pump it out to their new rain garden. I appreciate you coming on and explaining this process.
It's been my pleasure, Stu.
Building Wisconsin is made possible by the members of Plumbers 75, proudly serving their contractors and helping build Wisconsin for over 100 years.
We all know the most basic form of life requires clean water to survive. On Earth, we need it to drink, cook, clean, and it touches just about every part of our quality of life. Here in Wisconsin, we appreciate the value of clean water even more as we live alongside the Great Lakes. Yet we often forget to think about how water gets to our homes, schools, and businesses, and then safely back to Mother Nature. Where does all the dirty water go? How is it fresh and clean every time we get a glass of water? Who makes this happen? The answer, plumbers. It's the plumbers who are trained, mentored on the job, and have progressed through a 5-year education program that takes them from apprenticeship to a master of their trade. It's plumbers who are committed to a career and have been trained to protect the health and safety of our water system and make sure you never have to think about where it comes from and where it's going. Yes, we're fortunate here in Wisconsin to have an abundant supply of clean, fresh water, but even more fortunate to have a highly trained and committed workforce to keep and deliver it that way.
Plumbers 75, supporting the plumbing trade in southeast Wisconsin for over 100 years. Since they opened their doors in 1965, Mid-City Plumbing and Heating has grown into a highly respected mechanical firm serving southeastern Wisconsin. A full-service plumbing and heating contractor, Mid-City specializes in commercial, industrial, and residential mechanical design, construction, and service. They also operate and maintain a complete underground sewer and water division. And with over 50 years of experience, Mid-City is able to perform service work quickly, cost-effectively, and with quality workmanship that is second to none in the industry. Mid-City Plumbing and Heating and Plumbers 75, proud to be building Wisconsin. For more information on Building Wisconsin, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and be sure to watch additional episodes on YouTube or at our website, buildingwisconsintv.com.
Wow, Karen, what a beautiful backyard, and one that's perfect for a rain garden. And I'm excited because now it's time for us to learn more about how we can design and implement one in each of our yards throughout our communities. But before we get into that process, let's quickly recap the show and talk about why these are so important.
Sure. So in this case, this homeowner has taken a big first step by having a sump pump installed. Older homes in the Milwaukee region, those that were built before 1954, have foundation drains that go directly to the sanitary sewer system. Instead, this homeowner has chosen to have a sump pump installed and have that stormwater, clear water discharged to the lawn in this case.
Sure, and as we mentioned earlier, that's a huge burden on the Metropolitan Sewer District itself. So everybody can do their part by disconnecting that as one option. What about utilizing the water that falls on a roof and comes down a downspout?
That's right. That's another great use of stormwater. Sump pump discharge and stormwater discharge could go directly to a rain garden.
And so it's important for all of us, whether we're homeowners or businesses, keep that water on site, and a rain garden's a great way to do it. So let's get right into it then. As far as the design, let's say I'm a homeowner out there or even a business owner. I like the idea of a rain garden, but I've never planted anything in my life or very little. Seems to me it could be a great family activity, but how do I get started? I mean, can somebody as novice as me do it?
There are a lot of great resources out there, fortunately, and you don't have to create the wheel. So you can go to mmsd.com or freshcoast740.com, for instance, and we have a ton of resources up there that you can use. One of those resources is this Rain Garden Manual put together by UW Extension. And it really has everything you would ever need in order to design, locate, and install a rain garden. It has formulas so that you can calculate the size the rain garden needs to be. It has expertly planned rain garden plant mixes. It's really a great one-stop shopping guide.
Wow, this is awesome. And so I don't even have to live necessarily in the metropolitan area of Milwaukee. Whether it's throughout Wisconsin or throughout our country, rain gardens are beneficial anywhere you live.
That's right. Rain gardens help to hold water where it falls. And in most parts of the country, that's something that's really, really important.
And again, the whole idea of this rain garden is to keep the water that falls or the snowpack on site. And you called that earlier green infrastructure, which I love that term because a lot of us think of infrastructure as concrete, asphalt, and just get rid of it all. Well, this is a great way to do our part, that's for sure. Now, I understand you also have some workshops out there if you happen to live in this area.
That's right. So we do have workshops that we conduct at least once a year, sometimes more frequently. And at those workshops, we have master gardeners come. We talk to people about the importance of rain gardens, how to locate them, and then master gardeners actually work with homeowners to design a customized rain garden for their site.
Now, do they have to be a specific size? I mean, so many feet by so many feet, or can they be small or big, whatever you want?
The guide that you're holding has calculations so you can figure out how large in a perfect world you'd make them, but you don't have to have them be perfect. Some rain garden is better than no rain garden.
Okay, so let's say I've had the fun, I've designed my rain garden, I want to start implementing it. Are there certain parameters a homeowner needs to be aware of as far as like location or before I start what to do?
Yeah, there are a few simple things. First of all, you don't want to locate your rain garden right up against your foundation because then you'll be infiltrating water right along the side of your house, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah, kind of defeat the purpose.
Yeah, right. So you want to be at least 10 feet from your foundation if you can be. You also want to figure out where your sanitary sewer lateral is and try to get 6 to 10 feet from the center line away from that as well. You don't want to infiltrate water on top of the lateral in case your lateral has a little crack in it.
Sure, because then all that water would percolate down and end up infiltrating it and again, defeat the purpose of it. So how does a homeowner go about finding these?
Well, one clue is you can go and see where the clean out is in your basement, and it's typically a straight shot out to the road. But another thing you can do is call your village or city or town and get it marked so that you know exactly where it is and you stay away from it.
So it seems to me if you're a homeowner out there, create your design, then look at your property, determine where your lateral is, and then probably the smartest thing of all, call Diggers Hotline.
Absolutely. Call Diggers Hotline and find out where underground utilities exist for electric, gas, and what have you.
Well, great. Well, as I look behind me, the crew has this garden all ready to go. I'm anxious to learn more about the planting process and what they selected in this location. So let's let them get started, and you and I'll catch up a little bit later.
Sounds like a plan.
Well, Karen, the crew's making short work of this project. It's looking beautiful. And the first thing I noticed with this rain garden is it's kind of concave in nature. Just it's been dug out.
It has been dug out, and we did that on purpose. We want to make sure that the water flows into it, stays in it, and infiltrates into the ground.
Okay, so again, we're trying to keep clear water on location, and the best way to do that is keep a bowl. So you want to make sure you have a berm around it, whether it's a small rain garden or a large one.
Yep, a berm helps to hold the water inside the bowl.
Okay, now I see here, this pipe actually comes from the rain barrel over here, so a very eco-friendly household, and that's a great way to capture roof water. So it's not just some crock clear water, it's from the roof as well. Again, keeping any water that's on site here on site.
Right, that rain barrel will catch 55 gallons of rainwater every time it rains, and that rainwater in this case can be routed right into the rain garden.
Boy, this is great. So are they going to tie in the clear water coming from the sump crock and bring it into the same location?
The sump crock water will come out of the pipe that we showed earlier and come right into the same location here. Now they can either put that right on top of the ground or they can make a small trench and then bury it so that it's at grade with the
Yeah, because
grass.
the last thing you want to do is have something that's in the way if you're mowing your lawn. And I know that you have a rain garden and you were telling me off camera that you actually buried it so it's flush there so you can keep an eye on it, but you don't have to worry when you're mowing your lawn.
Makes it a lot easier.
Not a trip hazard either. You like to put rock down as well at the discharge?
Yeah, you need to put rock down right at the discharge, and you need to do that so that it dissipates the energy. When your sump pump discharges, the water comes out all at once, and with that it comes out with a little force. And so you don't want to wash out the plants you just planted. Instead, you want to dissipate the energy with some rock.
Boy, that makes sense. And as we move down here, you know, you said you have to excavate it out in order to hold the water, but the term excavation can be kind of intimidating to a lot of people, and I would think that would be something that needs to be strongly considered when you're thinking the size of your rain garden. Because if I'm a homeowner and I don't have access to a mini excavator and I have to do it by hand, you don't want to take on too big of garden initially, because I would think you could always add on to it down the road.
You can always start small and add on with subsequent years. That's true. To make it easier, if you're digging this out by hand, you can put black plastic down for a week or two before you want to do the work. That'll kill the grass and make it a lot easier to dig out. But you also need to make sure that you schedule yourself enough time. This is going to take more than 30 minutes.
Sure, you have a crew in here that came in to help for today's purposes to demonstrate, but if you're doing it on your own, again, it can take some time, but I think about my family. I have a couple of young kids. What a great way to do some family work together, some bonding, and then reap the rewards by constantly, year after year, looking out there and seeing how our garden is. So I think it's a great opportunity for family time. Now, once you excavate, this doesn't look like the same dirt that you would have excavated out of here.
This is a 50-50 sand and compost mix. The sand helps the water to infiltrate, and the compost adds organic content or nutrient content that the plants will just thrive on.
Okay, and so this type of mixture you can get at a garden center, or somebody can direct you to where to get it from?
You can use your backyard composter if you want, or you can buy compost, and same with sand. You can buy it.
Okay, so you want to, again, lean on the professionals out there to give you some advice, but once you have the list, it doesn't look like it's all that difficult. you're not going to screw it up. After all, there are plants in here and they're going to grow, and even a small garden is going to be very beneficial.
That's right.
Now, along the lines of the plants, what type of plants are here? At first I thought there was only one variety, but when I get closer, there are a lot of different plants.
Yeah, there's a great variety here. This is a mixture of grasses and sedges and flowering plants. And some of these flowering plants will flower at different times of year and at different heights. So the homeowner's gone to a lot of work to figure out what's going to really look nice throughout the growing season.
Do you find that it's a good idea to plan out the garden rather than just dig a hole, put in some amended soil, and then just plant anything?
Planning is a good idea no matter what you're doing, and in the case of a rain garden especially so if you want it to look nice, yeah.
Sure, and then as far as the plants themselves, does it matter whether they're shallow-rooted or deep-rooted varieties?
You can put in anything you'd like because any rain garden is better than no rain garden, but we recommend that you use native plants. Those are plants that are adapted to growing in our climate and in our soils, and also they tend to have really deep roots, and that'll help your water to infiltrate faster no matter what season you're talking about. One thing I forgot to mention, Stu, is that you don't absolutely have to change out your soil. You can use what you have if you want to make it easier for yourself.
Sure, well, at the end of the day, what we're saying is that any rain garden is better than no rain garden at all. So no matter how simple or how elaborate you make it, you're going to be helping everyone in the community and really everyone in our nation.
I completely agree.
Well, I can see the crew is anxious to get back at it. I can't wait to see the end result, so let's get out of their way and we'll pick it up in a few minutes.
All right.
Karen, they did a great job. This is going to be fantastic as it evolves.
It's going to be really terrific. This first year things look a little bit sparse. We planted the plants on about 1 foot centers, but through next year and the years to come, this is really going to fill in well.
Well, I've actually done a little bit of gardening and landscaping in my time, and that's one of the mistakes I always seem to make is I don't allow enough space for the plant to grow. You kind of forget that they're living things, and sure, they're just seedlings now, but they are going to grow, so that's something you can take to heart, that's for sure. Well, again, Karen, the crew made great progress on this. It only took them a couple hours to do this. Now, granted, that's 7, 8 people working on it. You can either have a group of people do it or you can do it yourself. But at the end of it, you're doing a world of good, not only for yourself, but for the community as a whole.
Right. These rain gardens can work as standalone rain gardens, or they can work in tandem. We can have rain gardens really throughout the region or the whole neighborhood and scale it up. This rain garden helps not only this homeowner, but also all the adjacent homeowners by managing water where it falls.
And again, I like it that they're using the clear water coming from their basement sump pump out here. I saw that they were using the rain barrel when it came to the initial watering. The crew just went over there, filled up the watering cans. So if you think micro, on a micro level, what can I do to help? You're really going to help solve this entire problem of runoff going into our lakes, rivers, ponds.
Everybody can be part of the solution. In this case, this garden is about, what do we say, 70 square feet?
Sure.
And each square foot of rain garden can conservatively hold up to 3 gallons.
Wow.
So if we do the math on that, this rain garden alone can hold over 200 gallons of stormwater every time it rains.
Every time it rains, and somebody might say, well, that's not all that much. Well, sure, if you start extrapolating it out and say in the greater Milwaukee area, say 1,000 or 10,000 homes do this, that really helps reach that goal of 740 million gallons that you're trying to keep on site rather than going down where it doesn't belong.
It's just simple math, and if you break it down, it's certainly attainable.
Well, on today's show, I noticed that there are a lot of different professionals involved in this process. I mean, it starts with the plumber, it starts with MMSD, reaching out to the communities themselves. What has been the response when you approach different communities and you talk about the Fresh Coast 740 program and rain gardens in general?
Our response has been really positive. And I think that's because it involves a lot of people, as you say, and it's not just private citizens, and it's not just professionals, and it's not just government or non-governmental organizations. It's really everybody working together. Everybody plays a part in this.
I'd call that a partnership on a grand scale.
It sure is.
And I mean, when it's working like this and everybody starts to understand more as they become more educated, everybody can do their part And it really benefits the greater whole. I mean, right down to your neighbors here, you're lessening the likelihood of a basement backup, you're helping keep water where it belongs on site, and at the end of the day, we can all sit back and enjoy the plants that were planted here. You know, I hope people take heed and look around and see what their neighbors are doing, take it upon themselves, have some family time, and build more rain gardens in our greater metro area. Right now, I want to catch up with the mayor of West Allis to learn why his community is investing in projects like these. Thank you for coming on and introducing them to us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Mayor, this looks just beautiful. Some black-eyed Susan, some sedum ready to bloom. And that is a good example of what we've been covering on today's show. And that is green infrastructure.
Yes.
And I venture to guess that that can handle a couple hundred gallons on any given rainfall. And that keeps that water right here. And that's what we've found so far in today's show. And what we've learned is how important this green infrastructure is.
Yeah, it's been really popular. It's been really well received. And as more and more neighbors and businesses are learning of this project, they're embracing it and looking at it as a big picture solution to a problem.
Oh yeah, and what I've also learned is that West Allis has taken the lead. They're the first community in the MMSD sewerage district to actually disconnect drain tiles, utilize that water in rain gardens in backyards.
Yeah.
And what a great program it is. And you know, it might only be a couple hundred gallons here, a couple hundred gallons there, but the sum of all those participants can really help attain that Fresh Coast 740 goal.
Right, when you see a small garden, you don't look at it as making a major impact, but as the program continues to expand, and then when you can have 20, 40, or even hundreds of homes that are each taking hundreds of gallons of water out of the system, it really starts to have an impact.
Has it been well received, this program?
It's been incredibly popular, not only for the green element of it and the water conservation efforts, but also just the aesthetics it adds to our neighborhoods and really beautifies some houses and yards.
And not only houses, but as I understand it, businesses as well. They can do their part to keep that water that Mother Nature is providing right on site.
Right, and we have to keep reminding ourselves that, well, Lake Michigan is far away, but everything that falls here gets into our streams and waterways and ultimately ends up in the lake.
And so it is a great opportunity for each of us to do our parts. And after all, we're all interconnected. So not only to our neighbors and our neighborhoods and our community, but all the communities in the sewerage district. If other communities will follow your lead, I think it'd be good for all of us and can go, you know, again, a long ways to attaining that goal.
Sure, and yeah, West Allis has kind of led the way on this, but I really would expect other communities to learn about this and be excited because it's just a great opportunity.
Well, all of us can look around, and anytime we see green space, we can know we're doing good for everybody.
That's a great thing.
Well, thank you for coming on.
All right, thank you.
The preceding program was sponsored by the Building Wisconsin Television Network.